All right. Well, we hope all of you had a wonderful time watching the Splatoon panel that just happened now. And well, while we're taking a little break and switching between this panel and the next one, we decided that we would go and visit the dealer's den once again. By the way, if you haven't visited the dealer's den yet, I don't know why you haven't, because it's a pretty cool place. But as I was saying, we decided we were going to go to the dealer's den and look for, a dealer that is here and that would be willing to share their creations with us. And we have found a Blue Patch the dog here, who is so kind to volunteer their time to just talk a little bit about what they're up to right now here at Virtual Furnal Equinox. So, Blue Patch, hi there.
Hello.
Hi. Blue Patch. So, of course, you're a dog, and of course, you're a dog of the blue patch kind. And we just want to know maybe a little bit about yourself. So, tell us about yourself.
I'm a British digital artist and model retexturer from England. I've just started doing the retexturing side of stuff, but I am opening commissions for them soon.
Very, very nice. And as we can see from Blue Patch the dog's dealer den booth over here, there's a lot to see in terms of all the different talents and services that Blue Patch is offering. So you mentioned that you're doing, mostly reskinnings, retextures and whatnot. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it for about a couple months now, but I've been getting the hang of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and from what we can see here, it looks like you're definitely getting the hang of it, and you're doing a really good job too. So in terms of, the services, since we mentioned that, so is it mainly, again, reskinning, retexturing, or do you also provide other services as well with your dealer booth?
As well as the reskinning of models, I also offer adding animations to models, adding dynamic bones to your models so you can have the ears wiggle around, or the tail.
Oh, like the ears that are wiggling right now on you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Look, just look at those ears. May I touch those ears?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. These are the most wiggly ears that I've seen. And I know wiggly because I'm a noodle. See, if you want wiggly ears, then Blue Patch the dog, I think, is a pretty great candidate to get your wiggle on, especially if you're of the long-eared variety, talking to you Fennec foxes out there. So, in terms of the convention so far, how are you liking it? Do you like the way that we've done the dealer space?
Yeah, 100%. I really love the size of the den as well. It's really big.
Mm-hmm. Have you had a chance to see, other dealers in their booths yet, or kind of just here?
Yeah, I've took a look around, said hi to some of the dealers as well.
Very, very nice. And, as you know, we have over 60 dealers here in our virtual dealers den. And for those of you that are watching on the stream, you can find information on all the dealers, detailed information on the Furnal Equinox website, the virtual Furnal Equinox website. And you can even, again, use that feeling lucky button if you feel like being paired with a random dealer who would love to have your business. You might even get Blue Patch if you're extra lucky, and you can get all the wiggly ears that you would ever want. So, yeah, and in terms of the other parts of the virtual event, have you checked out any other parts of it? Like the lounge or...
I've been to the lounge and the pool so far, and the pool's really fun.
Very nice. So I was going to ask you, what would your favorite spot be? And I'm guessing that would be maybe the pool?
Yes.
Very, very nice. Yep. And for those that haven't been able to access the pool, you can get there by going to the hotel world of Virtual Furnal Equinox and finding one of the elevator portals, which will take you to the pool. We've got quite a few of them, but it's marked clearly that it goes to the pool, or, just follow the sounds of splashing water and all that. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Blue Patch. So I guess just one more thing, that I want to ask you, which is, what are you looking forward to most, this weekend? Aside from obviously getting a lot of business with your dealer's booth, but what are you looking forward to most?
Definitely looking forward to the dance later on.
Oh, any dances in particular that you've got on your mind?
Not particularly. I just want to have fun with my friends.
Absolutely. You plan on doing a lot of oons and dancing and just, having a good party, having a good time the entire night? I feel that. Well, we can find... Oh, yeah, actually, that's actually a great thing. I just thought of it as well, because I was thinking about how we could find you. So do you have like a website or a Twitter or anything like that if people want to learn more about your work?
Yep, I have a Twitter, which is Blue Patch the Dog, and I also have a website, which is shown at the bottom of my price sheet down there.
Right there. So if you are looking at the bottom of the store right there, you can see clearly www.bluepatchthedog.weebly.com. Right there, and you can find all about Blue Patch the Dog's works and their pricing sheet and all the other good stuff, including social channels. So make sure, if you are in the market for things such as reskinning, retexturing, animations, and dynamic bones for your VR model, this is the dog here for you. All right. Well, we won't take up any more of your time, but it was great to speak with you. Thank you so much for volunteering your time. And we hope that you have a wonderful weekend with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, we are going to head off next to Dr. Wildlife's VR meet and greet panel, which is happening from 7 p.m. to, I believe, 8 p.m. So we will be broadcasting that on the stream, and until we see each other after that, make sure you continue to enjoy yourselves and, of course, have an awesome time together. See you for now.
When registration opened, we set a donation target of $6,000 for this weekend, which you beat before the convention had even started. Cue a panicked, bewildered staff trying to figure out what to do next. We quickly added a stretch goal of $8,000, which you also beat before the convention started. A couple of days in advance of the con at the time of recording, that's where we're at, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've beaten even more by the time this goes live. Furnal Equinox 2019 raised $11,000. I think that we can not only beat, but absolutely kick the crap out of that number. I think that we can raise so much that the convention management don't know how to deal with it. I want to raise so much that if we can't break the software that tracks how much has been raised, we can at least break the people who use it. I want to see Scanny cry. Please help me do this and hit the donate button below.
Everybody, here in VR chat for my first guest of honor meet and greet. This was meant to be in person at the Ripley's Aquarium a whole year ago. This year, I decided to make it virtual with the con. So there is a link in the live stream chat in Discord. Try and join us. If it does fill up, we will be monitoring the channel for any questions and stuff that you may have throughout this next hour. Otherwise, it's super chill time. We're just going to hang out and chat. So if you guys have any questions, career-wise, for me, fandom-wise, I am more than happy to answer them. Ari over here is going to be my friendly Discord reading cat. It is going to tab in and out of Discord. So if you see their body suddenly start meditating, they're reading questions. As their head just sinks down. They're reading questions for me. And for those of you that are actually in the room, you can obviously just chat with me directly. You don't have to post your question.
Hello, yes.
Hello.
What is your favorite steak and why?
Hello.
What is my favorite what?
What is your favorite type of snake and why?
Favorite type of snake and why? Probably green tree python, because I grew up with the children's book Verdi, with which the little python, and I love him. I love the little green snake. I wish probably people expect more of a technical answer than that, but I just think they're really pretty, and I grew up thinking about that book, so like it stuck, right? It absolutely stuck.
Heck yeah.
Let's see.
Hello.
Howdy, everybody. I promise I do not bite. So if you have questions, I am here. Hopefully, I'm not too intimidating.
Okay. What do you like best about tigers? What do you like best about tigers?
What I like best about tigers? Oh, well, I really like house cats, and tigers are just giant versions of them. So I think everything that I like about like my typical house cat at home, just having it translated into a bigger version is like way even better. I don't know, they just have a lot of personality. I always enjoyed working with them in zoos. I kind of miss working with big cats. The reptiles are really cool, but big cats just have so much personality. I'm partially an adrenaline junkie too, and so the idea of working with like big predators is also pretty interesting because there's always like a certain point of this thing could kill me if I mess up. So you're always on your toes working with them. Never all day, basically. Hello, everybody. Lots of people joining.
Heck yeah.
Not a lot of people chatting though. It's a meet and greet. I want to hear from all of you.
All right. Okay, here's another question. Have you ever been injured on the job? And if so, what kind of animal gave you like the
injured
worst
on the
injury?
job?
Oh, good lord.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been injured on the job, and it's rarely been an animal. I have the funniest work injury ever. I worked at the Dallas World Aquarium, and we had this rule where we had to have everything done clean and fed before we opened to the public, so everything was like nice and good. And if you've never been to this aquarium, it's a big indoor rainforest. It's more of a zoo than an aquarium. And so it was basically built like where there's like 3 different levels. And there's a behind-the-scenes access that's giant stairs that lead through all the levels. And I was trying to rush from the 3rd level down to the 1st floor to finish feeding my animals before we opened to the zoo. And when I started going down the stairs, it was all humid and wet because it's a rainforest. And I slipped, and my whole bucket of animal food went flying comically through the air. And I slid like 2 flights of stairs, and I was trying to like stop myself, and I was like grabbing a hold of the staircase railing, trying to stop myself, and my lower body stopped, but my upper body didn't, and so I like popped my shoulder. It just kept going. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Like, but I remember that. In terms of animal-related injuries, I only have 1 scar from an animal. It's on this hand and about this position, and it's from a penguin. It like sliced open my hand. So.
Ow! That got hurt. That has to hurt.
It did. Penguins are incredibly different. Hello, Steve. Hello.
Also, hello again, Dr. Wildlife.
Robot, everybody.
Howdy.
I decided to...
Robot, everybody.
So, question is from Marley, and
Yeah.
Marley says, do you usually meet up at Ripley's Aquarium during the convention?
Usually,
What
well,
is that?
last year's FE was actually going to be my first one, and so I would like to do it once we get another one, but I've only been to the Ripley's a few times, and I just moved here, and everything's still closed.
Wow.
Any more Discord questions? Yep. Oh.
What's going on?
I'm surprised. I'm able to even be.
Man, this Elite strap's really good. Now it feels a lot more comfortable wearing my headset. I literally just went out to the store and bought the Elite strap and a few other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Since I just got, like, the other half of my graduation money. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, nice. Makes it easier to play with something like that.
Yeah, it makes it to where, like, my headset don't droop down and such because of it not being tight enough. Yeah, either that or it being, like, too tight to where it's, like, constricting my face.
We do have one more Discord question so far.
Sure.
So, Lucky the Fosky, sorry if I said that wrong, said, what is your main persona species?
Tiger, though people probably know me more by Bodogen than the Tiggy.
We also have another one.
So it works
Sure.
fine. There's just a weird issue where.
Marley also asks, what was your favorite animal to work with?
Favorite animal to work with, hands down, is tigers. I miss working with them. I enjoyed working with them so much that I got a tattoo right here for the first tiger that I ever worked with.
50% of people's avatars here.
Oh no, and I feared this would happen. The VR chat bug where I get no audio in game just happened. So I cannot hear anybody.
They jinxed it. I swear they jinxed it.
You have to relog.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
That's a VR chat bug. It's not anything on my end that I can do, so I'll have to reset. But y'all are welcome to hang out and think of questions while I am rebooting. So y'all can hear me. I cannot hear anything. It is just music. It's kind of weird.
I think there's just too many.
I will be back.
Okay, I'm waiting.
I hope we don't have to go to another con.
I don't know where it came.
There's only 50 people. 47? Yeah.
This is such a cute world, though.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, I suppose, ask some postings or something to look in Japanese.
Dr. Wildlife.
Yes, Dr. Wildlife wanted my friend to and I was going to be and I'm like thinking about
Yeah. Hello there. Dr. Wildlife's system crashed because so many people want to come see him. So, he'll be back momentarily. Thanks for your patience.
I should be joining back in now.
That's what I was
People in here. Sorry. It's hard to hear others. Down everything.
You would never be able to like try and keep above at least 20
That's
for me, which is
okay, awesome.
just crazy.
I ran full speed.
Okay, most of the world is dead.
Hooray. I screwed up my tracking when I was running, but you know, here we are. To T-pose on live stream. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
here.
Can I get a picture of you, Doc?
Oh, I'm right here. I know you're requesting to join me. I'm right here. I made it back.
Oh, perfect. Welcome back.
We're back.
Oh, nice.
We're back. Oh, you wanted a picture. Sorry.
Yeah, that was spelling.
I don't. Okay, if I'm not looking at it, you let me know, because
that's fine.
VR chat cameras are so silly.
That's good enough. Alright, that's all. That'll do it.
How they got in there.
Yeah, there's like a cave.
Let's go in the cave.
Let's go in the cave.
Where is the cave again? I think it's this way.
I'm gonna crash. Vanish from the lag.
Oh jeez.
Oh, Maple.
We gotta run. We gotta go.
Oh,
This is nice.
We
got the horde after us. We got the horde after us. We need to find somewhere to lose them.
This goes.
A dramatic run through the
We're going to the center of the earth.
Oh, here's pretty.
Here we go. This way.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That's wow.
That's good.
This way.
Oh
Okay.
wow. Oh my
This is
goodness.
really neat. There's so much here.
Wow. What?
Oh no.
No way. Let's just hope no one else followed us.
I mean, if they do, it'll just be really funny. That's the point of VR chat. It's chaos,
Oh
right?
no, here they
Stand
come.
over here so we can get some space from Doc in the camera. So where I am, so come back over here.
Cookie, your mic is screwed right now.
And Zenny, if you could stand back.
This is why I'm happy that I'm using a crappy
Zenny, come back.
webcam right now.
Zenny, you're supposed to move a little bit.
Thank you. So if anyone has any
I'm
questions, we'll
trying to
continue our
video on TV
Q&A.
right now. Give me a sec, okay?
I'm chilling. I'm staying in the water because I like it.
Baby, is there any in Discord?
Yeah, let's take a look.
I actually kind of had a question, but I can wait for after Discord.
I can answer yours while. I can answer
Yeah,
yours
go right
while
ahead.
waiting on air to read it out.
Alright, so when you used to work with the tigers and all that stuff, what was the most riskiest experience you ever had while working with the tigers?
Oh, so without naming where this was, early on in my career, I worked at a place where, let's just say, it wasn't an accredited zoo, right? So there wasn't a bunch of policies in place that ensure a lot of safety. I was really early in my career. I was taking as many opportunities as I could, and it was before I knew I should probably look for those opportunities at accredited zoo instead of other places. And there was an intern that was changing waters in the tiger enclosures, and the way the enclosures are built is there's an intro area that we call the holding area, and from that holding area is access to the main habitat where the tiger is. And when you're working in the holding area, the tiger is always locked inside that separate enclosure. But this intern, I guess, didn't lock it all the way. So they were changing waters in the holding area, and they took the water bowl out to clean it and left the holding door open, thinking that, oh, it's okay because the enclosure door is locked. And then I came into the barn a little bit after that to see this fully grown male white Bengal tiger just walking out of the enclosure at me as close as the camera guy and me are right now. And it was absolutely terrifying. But the tiger, funny enough, wasn't being aggressive. He started chuffing at me and was very excited to see me. He was very excited to be out of his cage and coming close to me. And I was just this could be some of my final moments because there's a full-grown adult tiger. Somehow I remained completely calm. I backed out of the barn while he's chuffing at me, and I'm chuffing back at him, and I shut the doors and locked it. And the owner had hand raised that tiger, so she asked me what was going on, and she was able to go in and talk him to go back into the enclosure. So no one was hurt or anything, thank goodness. But I'd say that's probably one of the most dangerous moments I've had because it was a full-grown adult tiger that got let loose by someone else. So human error. That's why we call it lockup session in the zookeeper world, because if you work with dangerous animals, you have to touch the lock like several times to commit it to memory, or you'll wake up in the middle of the night with like sweat and fear that you left something unlocked, because it's like this constant fear that you've let something out. Yeah. So like even though I don't work with anything quite the level, I mean, we have Nile crocodiles, but we don't go in there like every day. But I still I have to look at the locks before I leave. Or I start thinking about it, and I'll drive to work at midnight to double check.
Oh, no, here comes the crowd. No.
That's okay. Everyone can hang out here.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
As long as we're not too loud, it's all good. So, I have one Discord question and a question from me.
Okay, where are you, Don?
Okay.
First Discord questions from Mary Lee, who says that they can't make it on VR chat right now, but they're wondering if you're going to be around your booth periodically throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I don't have any set times, but I'll be hanging out in all the public worlds continuously. It's actually where I was right before this, so I'll be easy to find. I'm always around.
And another question from me, I'm curious, throughout all of your years in your careers, what animal has surprised you with how much personality it has?
Oh gosh. Probably our friend Friday, the Asian water monitor, which everybody has recently taken a good love to on Twitter because I post about him all the time. A lot of people think that reptiles don't have a lot of personality to them, which most people in the fandom that love all types of animals know that's not true. I'm just talking about the general public. They think that reptiles don't have a lot of personality. But that's not true. Even snakes or some of the smaller reptiles do, and Friday is no exception to that. He has an incredible personality. We let him out every morning for walks. When he sees us come around the corner, he'll perk his head up, and it's absolutely adorable. I never thought that I would enjoy working with reptiles as much as I have. I've always liked them, but they surprise me every day. For sure.
Yeah, I could
Does
kind
anybody
of
have any
agree.
questions?
I could kind of agree with what Dr. Wildlife was saying about reptiles having a lot of personalities, because my younger brother, in the household we are living in currently, we have a black and white Argentine tegu that we call Zeus, and he gets really excited a lot. I mean, whenever my brother has to go and do something, take care of him, get crickets and all that stuff, and I have to watch him and all that stuff, I would just, be minding my own business when out nowhere he'll come and jump on me, and he'll usually just, climb all over me or my brother.
He sounds like it.
Yeah, we have several of them at my zoo, and they all are like that. They all, run. One of them in particular, his name is Bruce, and anytime he sees us, he, comes running at the door.
Oh, okay.
And you would think it's because it's food-related, but I was there for an after-hours tour in non-zookeeper clothes, in my normal outfit, and he still recognized me and came running at the door, wanting to get out.
Buffering everything is just breaking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got a
Does
question.
anyone in the crowd have any questions? Oh, Neo, perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe try to
What animal has surprised
And it's
you
still
in
bad.
how
It's still
volatile? Or, that's a rather rude word.
I know what you mean.
What animal has surprised you in how potent it has, or how much potential it has to harm you when its general aura or perceivement was first assumed this animal would be something that's gentle and not something that would go out of its way to try and harm you. What animal has surprised you in that way?
I think it's
probably penguins. Like I talked about earlier, it's one of the only scars I have on my entire body, and it's huge. People like to think penguins are these cute, cuddly creatures, but their bills are hook-like, and they are very vicious creatures. There's a story from a zoo where a bird, some sort of pelican or something, fell into the penguin exhibit when it was nesting season. And the penguins shredded it apart. A wild bird landed and the penguins were nope, and they killed it. So they are terrifying. And in all fairness, the scar I have was from a wild penguin. It was when I was working at a rehab center in South Africa, and I was like, in all fairness, we were having to force feed this bird because it was really sick, and it just wasn't having it, and it latched onto my hand, and a scar was actually given to me through gloves. I had like protective gloves on, like leather gloves, and he bit through it. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, so I don't blame it at all. It was a wild animal, like even more wild than what a zoo animal would be. So it was understandable. I'm not like upset at that animal, but it caught me off guard. It was nasty. It was very nasty. Yeah. Beaten.
Wait, what the?
Yeah, I guess that penguins would count as...
Dang it, Lucky.
Would probably count as this answer, but what is the least favorite of all the animals that you work with?
Oh, gosh.
I'm expecting something else, obviously.
I saw your request.
That is like a really tough question because I've enjoyed all of them. I'm trying to think of one that would like be lower on the poll. Oh gosh. I don't know. I mean, like it's funny, we're at an aquarium world. I love working with fish. I mean, I've kept home aquariums my entire life. I love doing it as a hobby. I loved working in an aquarium. I want to work at an aquarium again, hopefully at Ripley's in Toronto sometime. But I would say out of all the animals, if I had to pick one group, it'd probably be fish. They have an amazing personality to them, and I love them. It's just I love the fish, but if I'm ranking them against tigers, it's a bit hard. It's a bit hard to go team fish, right? And if you guys want to see some interesting things, you should look up Team Fish and Team Bird on Twitter sometime, because scientists have some heated opinions against fish. They like fight all the time.
I know, I see
really
some
funny.
people change.
There's a whole Team Bird versus fish on Twitter.
Literally nothing about that surprises me.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's like the time people started talking about how Pokemon biology and started fighting with each other. Or the time that the worm scientist got really offended. Does anybody remember that? Did anybody see that happen?
No, the worm scientist.
Yeah, no. There was people hating on flatworms, like in a meme way, saying that flatworms are like the worst study animal ever, and all the people that use flatworms as their study animal got so mad. So mad. They're like calling all the workplaces of the people that were making memes about flatworms and like reporting them.
Oh my god.
It was like the great worm controversy of 2020. People didn't have better things to do, so they were all fighting over worms. Like literally, that's all it is. They weren't posting anything hateful. It was nothing hateful. It was like memes about flatworms, and people got offended.
It's the internet. We'll fight over anything.
I'll have to repost some of that drama. I should just make a tweet about flatworms after this panel, and you'll watch all the worm scientists will come out. They'll crawl out of the woodwork. They'll be so
Just
upset.
like worms in the rain.
What, like worms in the rain? Absolutely. Do a
Yeah.
little worm dance out of the ground. If there's any worm scientists watching this, I do appreciate your work. That's my disclaimer.
Hey, like it's the one thing that they've completely mapped.
So we do have some Discord questions.
Yeah, it is pretty dang awesome. For sure. But in the grand scheme, it's like, tigers, flatworms. What's the Discord question?
All right, so we have a couple of them. First one, I believe, comes from Wolfcat, who says, how many times have you had to drive back to work to check the locks? Which I guess we can boil down to, like, how many times has, like, work made you nervous that you might have messed something up or had to go back for?
Too many times to remember. I mean, I can't think of the amount of times I've driven back, but I would say it's always a constant thought that I've like left something unlocked, or I've left water running and something's gonna flood. I've never done any of it. Like even when I've driven back, everything's completely fine, but it's just a constant anxiety thing. There was a time I was working with giant anteaters, and with the giant anteaters, we treated them as a dangerous animal because they have really big bear-like claws that can hurt you really bad if they get a hold of you. And we'd separate them into like this separate like bedroom area when we were going inside the enclosure. There's a time, it was like 1 a.m. and I woke up in like a sweat thinking I forgot to let them out of that indoor area back into their exhibit before I left. I thought I had left them locked in this tiny space. And I was living in downtown Dallas at the time, and I biked all the way back to work and like checked in with the security guard and like grabbed a flashlight and like went all the way to the giant anteater exhibit, and they were fine. They were like out on exhibit, and they both look at me like, "Why are you here? It's 1 a.m." Yeah. So I've driven back a lot. That's one of the most iconic ones because I just remember biking through downtown Dallas at 1 a.m. Probably not one of the safest things I've ever done, but you know, sometimes it'd be like that.
We have another one from Marley.
Okay.
And Marley says, what was the sweetest but most scary looking animal that you've worked with?
Oh, gosh. Tough question. I would say probably some of the snakes that I work with now. Any of the non-venomous snakes I work with, like they kind of look terrifying to people. Like our Burmese python, Rocky, is pretty terrifying. They're a very, very big snake, but they're incredibly sweet. People see it like when you walk in front of their habitat, they'll always come to the door and it looks like they're trying to come out to hurt somebody, but literally they just want to come out and like walk. Well, snakes can't walk, but walk with you through the zoo. They're very sweet and they like to just rest in your lap, like their little heads. So I don't know, probably the snakes. I don't really think they look too scary, but to the general public they do. Yeah. Yep. Sure. Yes.
Do you have a funny, memorable moment that that you bring up to the office, like here and there, like just like a really something that happened at work, like that was really hilarious that you guys like bring up like every now and then?
Funny stories.
Yeah, let's see. There was a time I watched this really old, close to retirement curator head slam an ostrich onto the ground.
That's a pretty good one, yeah.
Ostrich was fine, by the way. That's so. This one zoo that I worked at several years ago, nothing recent. They had like a mixed species habitat where there was ostrich and antelope, like different species of antelope. There was zebra, and sometimes the gazelles would get into fights with the ostrich. And one day they were in particularly just going at it, and all the large mammal keepers, so the people that worked with the gazelles, the people that worked with the elephants and the rhino, they're all standing outside the exhibit like, what do we do? And there's these two animals that, like, someone needed to intervene because they were going to hurt each other. They were fighting. And so people that work with elephants are like, I'm so terrified of this ostrich. I don't know what to do. I don't want to go near the ostrich. And this little old lady curator, she looks at them and she's like, are you guys kidding me? And she just like jumped the fence and goes up to the ostrich and like grabbed it behind its head and just like made it sit down and stop fighting the gazelle. Like she just forced it down. It was fine. Yeah. So like, I mean, it was a case of like it had to be done or the gazelle, like they were gonna hurt each other. So it was like she had to intervene. But it was so funny because it was so unexpected. I was like, what just freaking happened? You know?
Wow.
Very confusing. Yeah, Billy.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. So, I was wondering, how many places have you worked at, and what is the hardest animal, in your opinion, in your personal experience, that was the hardest to rehabilitate? Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh no, you're fine. Oh gosh, I don't know how many places I've like worked at, because I've done a lot of internships, and I typically, even though a lot of them were unpaid, I consider that working because I was. But a lot of places. I've worked at things like the Memphis Zoo. I spent time at the Smithsonian private zoo that's out like in the mountains of Virginia. That's not open to the public. It's where they do a lot of their conservation research. That's why it's not open. I worked there. Of course, now I'm in Canada. I've worked at places in South Africa, and I've worked in India for field research, not like for long-term zoo or aquarium positions. So the hardest animal to rehabilitate. Well, this is kind of a sad one, so I hate to like do this to people, but if you followed if you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw around Christmas I posted about someone abandoning some boa constrictors outside my zoo. For those that don't know the story, yeah, it was the day before Christmas Eve. And we were close to the public. Our province was under a stay-at-home order, the second one, and we didn't go through our front door regularly. But there was one day in particular, I like walked out to the front door to like check the mail, and as I opened the door from the inside to look out, there was a cooler setting by the door. And I remember I just stood there. I just like looked at the sky because I knew there was an animal in the cooler. I didn't know what it was, but I knew someone had abandoned an animal. And then I was immediately terrified because I'm like, when did someone leave this out here? It had to be sometime overnight. And we're in the Toronto area. It was freezing at the time. There was snow. And I was like, there's no way whatever's in here is still alive. And I opened it, and there was 2 huge boa constrictors in the bottom of it, and they weren't moving. I thought they were gone. So I was like radioing my staff and telling them like, hey, I have 2 snakes that were abandoned, but right now I don't even know if they're alive. I don't know. And we started warming them up, and they started moving around, and we were like, oh my God, they actually are alive. The terrifying thing about them is they weren't just abandoned, they had been abused. One of them was so skinny that her stomach was hollowed out. Like, you know how a snake's belly is supposed to be smooth? It was like a U shape. They had injuries all over them, and they smelled like cigarette smoke. And I don't know how you get a snake to smell like cigarette smoke. Like, there's nothing there for the smoke to get stuck on. So that just tells you like how bad it was. So, and over the past few months, we've been trying to help these snakes, and I've been trying everything, which some things a bit too graphic to describe on stream, but just trying to get this animal to eat frozen and thawed rodents, like just trying all sorts of things. And the male is fine. He's actually really sassy. He tried to bite our vet the other day, so I was really happy about that. I was really happy. I was like, yes! Like, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I'm like, yeah, like a snake that bites kind of thing. But actually yesterday at work, yeah, I was so happy. But I've been trying to feed the female for like so long, the really skinny one, and she wouldn't eat. She ate like once for me, but then regurgitated it. So it's like, well, so yesterday our vet was in, and it was a really tough decision for me to make, but I had him euthanize her because at this point it's like, we can't, like, it was just difficult. Like, we were trying to rehabilitate her, but she was too far gone, and we just couldn't, we didn't want to see her like that. Like, at some point you just say you can't, you know, and I think that's difficult because making that decision. But I was even talking to Ari about this earlier, you're getting really sad. Like, I always stay with the animal, so like I was literally holding the snake while it happened. So not that a snake probably cares, but who knows. So she's in a better place wherever snake go, but the male is doing good, so at least one of them, you know. It's something. Yeah. We thought he would have froze to death, but he survived. Yeah. And he's biting people, so sassy.
Cool.
I called a big one.
I'll try and post about him sometime soon. I need to take better photos of him. He's pretty.
Yes.
He's pretty neat. He's a very good snake. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, not good. He's not polite. He's not a polite snake, but he's. But you probably wouldn't be either if you smelled like, you know, someone had dumped cigarettes all over you all the time. I don't blame him. Mm-hmm.
Sorry to get all sad.
Yeah, sorry to get all sad.
Oh.
That's how it is sometimes.
Also,
I just want to point out, if you ever hear me coming out of Aries' mouth, Aries across the room from me, so I could go smack them in real life if I wanted to.
Yeah, like I hear your voices through Aries mic, and then you start talking, and it's just like, wait,
I'm
what?
trying to mute it. We do have a couple questions from Discord. One is super quick, if that's cool.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So the first one, super quick, comes from. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to scroll in my thing here. This one's from Alba the Rito, and says, "What's your favorite bird species? I guess. Like, what kind of bird is your favorite?"
Oh, favorite bird. Any kind of toucan. I love toucans. They're so cute. Did you guys know they can purr? Because they absolutely do purr. You give them little head scratches and they make little purr sounds, and I love them. And I miss them so much. I used to work with them at the Dallas World Aquarium, and I have a video, I can repost it sometime, of what's called a kill-billed toucan. They have like a very green-looking bill, which is my favorite type of toucan for obvious reasons. And he would always like greet me at the door, and I would like scratch his little head, and he would purr and close his eyes. I love them. If there was a way for me to have a toucan as a pet, I would absolutely do it, because I am a fully equipped zookeeper. Our cats may not they may not approve though.
I got another good one, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So this one's from Pixelnator in Discord, and they said, was there a moment where everything just clicked and you knew that this was going to be your career?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I was actually a pre-vet student. I wanted to be a vet for as long as I could think about what a career was as a child. Volunteered at our vet clinic all the time, got a job at my vet clinic in high school, and went into college or university working towards being a veterinarian. I was enrolled in all sorts of classes that now I wish I had never taken because I didn't go to vet school. Biochemistry being one of those things. If there a chemist in the room, biochemistry is awesome. It's not for me. Not for me. But I was a pre-vet student, and I was interning at all these different places to get varied exotic experience because I wanted to be a zoo vet. And I worked with elephants, I worked with penguins, worked with fish, and eventually got an internship working with tigers. It was like the last little box I had to fill in terms of experience with big cats. And when I started working with tigers, I met Tina the tiger, she's actually tattooed on my upper arm. And Tina was actually one of the first tigers I ever rescued. She was someone's pet in Texas. Her mate actually, the reason why she got rehomed from the pit is the mate actually killed the guy's granddaughter or something like that. So she got rehomed to another zoo, and then at that zoo another tiger hurt her, and she got rehomed over and over and over again until she ended up at the sanctuary that I worked at. And when I was working with Tina, and seeing this amazing animal that had been so abused go from absolutely terrified of humans to loving us and wanting to see us every day, I realized that I kind of wanted to be in animal care. As I say, working with happy animals rather than sick animals that hate me all the time as a vet. And there's a bit more to it. I don't want to clog up the whole chat with it, but it was definitely working with tigers that made me make that switch. And a lot of people are shocked to hear this, but I actually declined a vet school acceptance because I decided to pursue my master's and PhD instead. So vet school's harder to get into than med school, and I just said no thanks. People thought I was nuts. I was like, I worked towards that, and they emailed me, and I was like, sorry, no thanks, I've changed my mind. Yeah, I could be making a lot of money right now, but I'm a little on that McDonald's budget as a zookeeper, which is fine. I'm much happier, for sure. Any other questions right now? Yeah.
So I know we've covered a little bit of the I think it was the sad experiences and the scarier experiences. But did you have a particular experience that you considered to be very fun while you've been working as an animal handler?
Oh, very fun. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of moments like that. This one actually starts a little sad, but I promise I'm sharing a happy moment. It was during the lockdown, the initial lockdown, working at the Children's Aquarium in Dallas, Texas. That aquarium still has not opened back up to the public. The city says that they don't have the money to reopen it, and it's in some weird limbo of it exists and it's getting shut down because the city says it's lost too much money from COVID. So back this time last year, we really didn't know when we were going to reopen again. We didn't know what was going to happen. I don't think anybody did. And months went on. It was like June or July. We still weren't reopened. And it was beginning to break my heart that we had no guests. because you get into the field of working at zoos and aquariums because some part of you enjoys talking to the public and enjoys making people happy, despite the screaming children and school groups that you get that try to convince you otherwise. But there was a moment that there was this kid and their grandparents that came up to the aquarium door, and they didn't realize that we were still closed. I guess they were from out of town, and they tried to open the door, and they got so sad. And I had just had enough of COVID at that point. It wasn't even July yet, and I'm like, I'm done with this. I put my mask on, and I like opened the door and stood back from them. And I was like, hey, we're closed, but I really want to like make someone's day with our little aquarium. So if you wanted to come into the lobby for a moment, I'll like show you some animals for free. And they were so excited. Just seeing how happy that kid was. I was actually crying about it later. You can ask Ari. It's a true story. I was just so happy to make these people's day. And that kind of happy moment may not be what you guys are expecting. You're probably thinking like a grander moment than that. But just being able to see people excited about the animals I work with, like, it moves me to tears all the time. Like when we reopened my zoo recently and our first family came through, that was like a tearful moment for me. So tearful in a happy way, of course. But yeah.
That is a very
It's the smaller moments that make me the happiest. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? I don't even know what time it is, so FE staff, if I'm going over, you let me know. If not, I have a watch.
On my end.
Oh, cool.
4:43 or basically 7:43.
It looks like we got.
Gotcha. Oh, beaten.
What?
I know I asked that, but transitioning. Speaking of you working with animals, when did that have an influence on you wanting to join the furry fandom, or did you join the furry fandom and then want to be, or how did you become a furry? Basically, is what I'm asking.
So this sounds really crazy and hard to believe. I actually didn't know anything about the furry fandom until just a couple years ago. Like, I grew up down a dirt road in Arkansas with dial-up internet, even when there was better internet out there. So I didn't even know what the fandom was at all. Even when I was living in Dallas, like, I didn't even think about looking something up, right? I had no idea. And there was a day, I want to say it was like 2017 or something. I was volunteering with a charity in Dallas that would take cosplayers into children's hospitals to like make them smile and such. And at the time, I still have it. I would cosplay as Spider-Gwen, and so we had like this whole Marvel setup, and we'd go like in the children's hospitals and like go into the hospital rooms and group the kids and such. And I was like, you know what? I really want a Rocket Raccoon costume. Like, I want a Rocket Raccoon costume. And still not knowing anything about furries, so I'm like looking for someone that can help me make it. And I find a fursuit maker, which was, that term was completely foreign to me in 2017. I was like, what is this? So I commissioned someone to help me make a Rocket Raccoon costume, and one of my friends at the time, and this was before I came out as MB, they were like, if you go down this path, you're gonna become like a queen furry or something. I don't know what they said. They're not a furry, so they came up with some sort of weird normie term. And next thing I know, I've like found out what protogens are, and I have a protogen character, and a month passes, and I've commissioned Kyborg to make my suit, and then a few months later I'm like making my tiger character, and then I'm commissioning a tiger suit, and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? And then I start going to multiple cons a year, and my bank account's like going down. I fell hard and quick, and I tell people all the time when I'm talking to them about, well, mainly like scientists and stuff that follow my Twitter, and they're like, what is this whole furry thing? I tell them just like, like, I'm so thankful I found the fandom, but I wish I would have found it earlier, because this fandom's like so helpful for a lot of things, like in terms of my gender identity, finding friends, like understanding my own anxieties and such. It like basically, where have you guys been my whole life kind of thing. I'm so glad I found everybody when I did. But those younger years would have been a lot easier if I had the fandom. So I'm all about like telling people about it if it can help somebody, just like spread spreading the fandom gospel to everybody. To whoever will listen. Some people are like, "Oh, gross," you know, never gonna hear about that. Don't want to talk about that stuff. But
That's a gospel I'd like to hear.
I need to come up with some like dramatic speech to do. I don't have one. I don't have like anything set. I say I'm just like, you want to hear about people that dress up in carpet animal suits and run around and sweat at conventions? Because I can tell you some stories, and they're like, what? Yeah. Yeah.
You get sweaty.
Do you get sweaty? Well, one of my staff the other day was like, found this old sheet where like my current zoo was pricing out mascot outfits, and we were looking at it. I was like, honestly, some of these are pretty dang good. And she was like, I would never actually. I don't think I've ever wear any of those because it just seems like it'd be really strange. And we
want to ask a question?
got actually into this good conversation about how awesome fursuits are for being comfortable with your body. Like, I can't dance in front of people unless I'm in one of my suit.
Right.
When you put a suit on me and I go crazy, I'm like jumping around the con, doing cartwheels. Not really. I don't know how to do cartwheels, but if I did, I would be doing them. Absolutely.
That'll be me.
Yeah.
That'll be me in a way if I ever get a fursuit, because I mean, a little bit. I do know how to do like cartwheels and flips and all that stuff a little bit because for like Painted Desert FurCon 2020, I was part of the talent show for PDFC.
Oh, nice.
And I did like freestyle dancing. I think it was like through the Phoenix by Fallout Boys, and I did like a few cartwheels and such during my performance, and it actually got me first place.
Yeah. Oh, Lucky, you have a question.
Have you worked with any kind of foxes?
I have not actually. I'm so sorry. I've never worked with them. There's not many places in the States that have them in zoos. Yeah. Bio.
What inspired you to do YouTube content?
YouTube content. One of my favorite parts of working in zoos and aquariums is talking to the public, getting people to care about animals and wanting to make a difference. So starting to do YouTube content was just really natural for me. Like, it's already something I do, like talking to people. So why not make it digital where more people can watch it? I think that's why, like, I don't always post a lot of content on YouTube because there's a particular type of content that I want to make and I feel is most beneficial. So sometimes, I mean, you'll see weird fursuit content get posted on my main Twitter, but for the most part, I try to reserve YouTube for educational content. and not me trying to learn how to do cartwheels, though maybe if people convince me, I'll make a YouTube video of me trying to do cartwheels in suit. One day.
Do a flip.
Harry?
Yeah, so we had another one from Discord. This one's from Shesta. And Shesta said, let me just make sure I got it right. Yeah, if you weren't able to work with animals, what like other career would you do?
I never would have thought that I would be given the answer I am about to give, but I think I'd be working in social media. Specifically, probably working, well, this is kind of working with animals, but not really, but probably helping lead social media for a zoo, museum, or aquarium. There's one particular, so social media or marketing, but I would want it to be for a nonprofit. I wouldn't want to do it for something that wasn't. I just like, I love making content that people enjoy. Any other questions? I hear people making noises, but there's so many small avatars. I'm like, look everywhere. There's so many.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, while attending university, what was your most challenging course and why?
Oh, probably my first semester classes. Surprisingly, and I'm just saying all of them, like first semester classes, I was not a very good student. I was very arrogant going into university, I recognize that about myself. I thought oh, I had straight A's in high school. There's no problem. I never have to study. And college kicked my butt. Like, it kicked my butt. And
Oh my goodness.
going into my second semester, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so I was not a very great student, and I think some people are surprised to hear that about me, but I was not great that first semester. Funny enough, a lot of those professors I'm good friends with them now, like lifelong friends. Like, we're friends on Facebook, we check in with each other, but back then I never would have thought they'd want anything to do with me. Because I'd be like, help, help me. And I'd be like, you didn't study, it's not our fault. I'm like, oh, I know. Oh, it's all my fault. Later in life, when I did have study ethic and actually really enjoyed studying and actually put effort in, biochemistry. Biochemistry was hard. I poured my whole life's energy into that and still didn't do so great. No one else did in class either. It was just difficult content and a difficult professor too.
Oh my, that's awesome.
All right. Lucky?
When did you find out that you really wanted to work with animals?
Work with animals. I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas, so I think I always knew. There isn't one moment in my childhood that I could say was the moment. It was always a thing for me. We had cows, we had ducks, we had chickens, no geese. Sorry, little goose friend over there. But no, I always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed it. The thing about working with animals is they, for the most part, there are some animals that do this, but for the most part, they don't judge you. You can look however you want to look in front of animals, and they're not gonna care. They don't judge you, and I just always enjoyed that. Yeah. Yeah.
Honk.
So I think that was our last question. Yeah.
With those genes.
Oh my god, yeah. The snake starts judging me and they're like, walk away.
Just like, what are you doing?
Oh. Alright. Well, I think that's our last question for the stream, but I am going to be around in the worlds throughout the night. I'll probably hang out here a little bit more before I have to eat dinner. But thank you all for tuning in to the live stream, and thanks to Effie for helping make this happen. It does stink not being in person, but this is a good second opportunity for it.
My first time, too.